So we think the outlook for FPSO companies going forward is quite positive. We have seen oil prices rise towards $70. That really changes the mindset of the E&P companies. So we see that actually have now record high cash flows to actually invest into new field developments. And they will use this to invest in shale, but also in the offshore and deeper water developments. And that will really benefit FPSO companies going forward.
Well, we have the good introduction here today this morning, and I think that reflects what we've seen throughout the last year, that there's an improvement. I think we all know the oil price is picking slowly up, and it seems to be more activity in the marketplace. But as the curves here today show that there are some concerns, so this careful optimism should be in place. Especially in our segment where we're working in the harsh environment, really needs consideration before we FID anything. So we are positive, but we see that we have to acknowledge time to mature the concepts and look the market out to see what they are ending up at.
So if we look at the market for the FPSOs, if you would have asked a year ago, so let's say early 2017, I would have said on the horizon we see great projects coming up. We've been lucky as Bluewater that we've been awarded a contract for Lancaster by Hurricane. But if you look now on 2018, I would have saying that the projects are really in very close by, coming better and better. And 2018 for sure already has some good things. And the next years ahead, I really have a good feeling about it. That really things are getting exciting more and more every year.
I think the FPSO market outlook for 2018 and onwards is cautious optimism. We heard some good things at the conference about various forecasts for projects coming forward, potential projects, and I think people are encouraged.
Some of the challenges and inhibitors that these companies are facing at the moment is the long-term profitability. You know, even though E&P companies are willing to sanction more projects, it's up to the operators and lease companies to really be on their toes and really provide the best solutions for the E&P companies in terms of the best developments, most uptime, and also maybe sharing still some of the risk in the field developments.
People would always say oil price, but it's also our capability to meet the oil price and make sure that the break-even price for the projects are acceptable. So to get that balance right, get the break-even price right compared to the oil price, but also the more history behind us where we have project overruns and delays. So the reputation of the industry has to be improved, and we need to justify the projects better before we go ahead.
So what we see as Bluewater is the reasons why projects are being delayed or postponed. That's more related to the financing abilities, like we heard today on the Congress already. That's one of the key drivers. But secondly, it's also the decision making of companies is actually the willingness to move further in the current what I call sweet spot of the market.
I think the main inhibitors right now is finance. People are still busy repairing their balance sheets from lower oil prices, and they took on more debt. So people are taking advantage of current oil prices to pay down debt, improve their balance sheet, and that's probably going to slow down their access to finance until they do that to do more projects.
So some of these financial challenges, of course, on the financing side, you know, and I think there it's a lot of new investors that might want to take a portion of this market. I think also what the BW Offshore had done, you know, with setting up the BW Energy, we're actually taking ownership in the field, can also be one way to actually share some of the risk. So there are many opportunities here for the companies, the FPSO companies, to work together with the E&P companies to really get these projects flying.
Well, I think the blue water, what we experience is the financial bottleneck. It's more also with the evidence of the past. So it's more that we have to make sure that projects are again and again on time and within the budget as being agreed. That's rather important. At the same time, we try to be innovative together with our client to find the best fit, who is funding what, to get basically the project sanctioned.
I think people are looking at innovative financing. They're talking to their banks, they're talking to private equity, they're talking to export credit agencies. There's a lot of resources out there and working with their contractors. There's resources to try to come up with a way to package up equity and finance and funding to help you move forward on the projects that maybe wasn't commonly done a few years ago, but is a good solution right now in the current market.
Development there is mostly done step by step in increments, while the big word now is digitalization and unmanned and low manned units, which is probably going to be very interesting to follow and see what requirements and standards we are looking for there and how that's going to be implemented. Otherwise, there are improvements and innovations coming to the market, which we see perhaps has a very good, it's a good result from the downturn that we've been through, that the market has been willing to look into the potential in these innovations now that they had time to think about it.
One of the high-tech innovations is digitalization. We hear a lot about that, but one of the things that has happened is we have facilities, FPSO facilities all over the world that need to be communicated with. So we have high throughput satellites that are getting more and more numerous, more and more available. The ability to take data from our FPSOs wherever they are in the world, to bring that data back, to work with supporting staffs and wherever they are in the world with our various equipment suppliers on our healthcare contracts. The high throughput satellites and the data communications is a fabulous improvement.
We can reshape the project through digitalization, but we should also not overdo it. We see many companies doing great new things, but we also should keep it simple. Keep it simple and making sure that documents, tech relations, equipment is very, let's say, transparent, because before we know it, we make a very complex, massive system out of it. So we should really focus on simplicity. That's key.
I think digitalization shouldn't be done just for the sake of digitalization. A good way of looking at this is look at what kind of value you're trying to achieve on your FPSO. Work backwards from that. What kind of decisions did you need to have made to access some of this value? And then working back from that, what kind of data should you try to collect and what kind of data analytics you could do to help you deliver that increased value, whether it's less people on board, whether it's increased maintenance intervals, whether it's less surprises from your equipment.
In this oil price level we have now and the market, I think it's very important to work together, because especially in the FPSO industry we have shared challenges and we need to find shared solutions, and we need to put our heads together and find new ways of working together. And I think we see that in the market, that there are opportunities which are developed across the usual boundaries between supplier and contractors and oil companies, that we see that this is moved forward based upon a broader cooperation than the usual client-supplier relationship.
So one of the key elements for project success is collaboration. Collaboration with your client, with collaboration with your whole supply chain. And what we've seen on the Lancaster project, for instance, Blue Water is working on, is that the complementary roles of the client, the oil company, Blue Water and the supply chain is really of vital importance to make a, let's say, relatively low-cost project a success.
I think in the current oil price environment, we have to do something different. We can't do what we did when oil was over $100 a barrel. We have to work collaboratively when oil is in the $60 range. And that means starting from the beginning when you have a blank sheet of paper, working together, getting the input, the experiences, the lessons learned, building on that, getting this incorporated into the design from the very beginning. You don't bolt some of these things on later. You want to get those incorporated in your design from the beginning, working collaboratively.
It's important to be here because we see the industry and get the impression of what is moving. We get an update of new players, what the old players are doing, and get an impression of the trends and the thinking of the industry. And it's always good to meet the fellow FPSO community and understand what struggle we share, our concerns, and share our challenges. Yeah.
I was here last year and this year, and it's really a good event. The right people being on the floor, the right presentations. I think the content is very good. Of course, I always see improvements for my position maybe, but that's the way it is. But on the other hand, it is a great event, and surely you should continue doing so.
The event's been good. We had several hundred people here, a lot of good presentations so far, good questions. I've been very impressed. It's very capable industry ready to do some more projects.